Yo, this is the Fantasy Best Friends Forever here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Alongside Frankie Stampfl, I am Gregg Sussman, Jake Seeley, hanging out for a little bit. Coming up later on in the program, Ray Austin, FCFL, the Fan Controlled Football League, will join us hopefully via Skype, if not on the telephone. So we'll get Ray Austin. You heard him last week on FST. He joins the BFFs coming up in a little bit. Frankie, what's going on, man?
Not much, Greggy. Get pumped. Pitcher's duel between Matt Boyd and Jake Junis going on right now.
Dude, I am pumped. I'm staring watching the game. It's great.
How'd you manage it? How'd you manage to swindle that? Is that on like MLB?
It's on MLB Network.
It's on MLB Network?
Yeah,
Right.
So it's been awesome. Got it right in front of me. Things are good.
I like it.
Yeah. Hey, Jake, I'm sorry that my voice isn't good enough for the BFF Open either. Just so you know, I wasn't faking it for FST.
No, you're fine. It's all good. But now we know where Florio is. He's pitching for the Royals.
Oh, was that the beard? Was that a beard joke?
No, there's no resemblance to you.
Not really.
I think he's probably got about a 50% Florio look going on.
Pulling up Jake Junis pictures right now.
We do know with Florio is he's in Amsterdam. We were texting with him yesterday. He is alive. He is doing well.
Jake Junis looks really weird without his hat, by the way. He kind of has like this mop thing going on.
That's not what he looks like anymore either.
No,
Jake
it's
Junis?
not. I was looking at the broadcast today. I'm looking at the pictures now. Right? Yeah, he looks completely different without the beard.
He has a bigger beard now.
You need the full beard and the hat on. He looks a little bit like Florio. When they did the cutaway at the game, that's where I looked at it. I wasn't even like doing it like as like, oh my god, he's got a beard. I just saw the picture, and because of his eyes and the whole look, I was like, oh, it kind of looks like Florio.
Does he still have his hair grown out like this though? Greg, I imagine that if you grew your hair out, this is exactly what it would look like. Jake Junis' little
I don't disagree.
Curly Jake
Click
Fro.
on Frank, find his picture where he's actually pitching and it's a baseball card from 2017. If you could find that one. If you did the Google search, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's the 9th picture. That one looks like Florio, the face that he's making.
Just Jake Junis?
Yeah. Jake Junis.
That one
Google
actually
search.
kind of does.
Thank you.
I see what you're
that's
looking
the
at.
face. Yeah, okay, see? And that's the kind of the face that he was looking at like when they cut away to him on the mound.
All right. I still think Florida's probably in Amsterdam and hopefully alive, but
He's probably alive and also probably.
We haven't heard from him yet today. I mean,
not today.
Even if you're in Amsterdam, usually you check in on your best friends. Like, if I was in another country, I'd still wake up and be like, "Hey, Greg, how's everything going, man?" Just kidding. I wouldn't do that at all.
Yeah.
I was waiting for your response, but too slow.
It's all right.
It was a great day yesterday, Greg. A lot of Frank pitchers on the mound.
It was like a day of number 5 starters.
I love all these guys.
This is all Frank pitching.
I don't know how I got into all these pitchers, but I am. And they're pretty good.
Talking to Nando too much? Is that why?
I think so. I think he's rubbing off on me a little bit too much.
Before I get into those guys, though, we talked about this on FST, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it also. And that's Kenley Jansen here, Frankie. Before I get into all your crappy starting pitchers.
Oh, stop.
Let me get into Kenley Jansen with you. Jake's a 3 on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned he is, because of the velocity mainly. How concerned are you about Kenley Jansen?
I think 3 is a good number. I'll go 2. I'm honestly not that worried because think about it. Starting pitchers get started every single year and their velocity is down. I know relievers are supposed to come out of the pen. They're supposed to have the velocity up right away, but relief pitchers are human too. They're also, made up of the same build that, starting pitchers are. And if we're giving these starting pitchers passes for coming out and throwing 3 miles per hour less on their fastball and all their pitches, and we're saying, it usually takes 3-4 starts for them to build up their velocity, why can't it be the same thing for Kenley Jansen? I don't want to paint the whole picture, everything is peachy, it's fine, because it's not. I mean, 52 innings pitched in 7 straight seasons for Kenley Jansen. After a while, he has been a relief pitcher workhorse. It's going to take its toll. Eventually, last year specifically, the guy threw 85 innings between the postseason and the regular season. So after a while, it's going to add up, and it's going to take its toll on your arm. But how worried am I about Kenley Jansen right now? I would set it at a 2. And honestly, Look, I love Matt Modica, but he came on and he said he would trade him for Edwin Diaz, man. I'm not an Edwin Diaz. Even Felipe Rivero, I understand you might be worried about the velocity, but I can't imagine doing that right now. If you invested a 3rd, 4th round pick in a 15-team league in Kenley Jansen. I can't imagine just selling off that guy after 2 bad performances, Greg.
Yeah, so the guy literally, as we're talking about this, I have my group chat up right now on my computer, and he's like, all I can tell you is Kenley Jansen stinks. I'm like, well, we're just talking about it on the air. I own Felipe Rivero. I will trade him to you for Kenley Jansen straight up.
What do you say?
He has not responded yet.
Maybe he's looking into it.
I'll do it.
I would do it. I'm with you.
I know you
like
are.
if I own Edwin Diaz, if I own a Cody Allen,
Yeah.
if I own you probably won't be able to do it with Brad Hand because he struggled in one of his appearances already too. But a Raisel Iglesias, who was absolutely dominant yesterday, came in for the 4-out save, worked out of a bases loaded jam. You could trade one of these guys for a Kenley Jansen right now. I'm going to try to do it, and this is one of the risks that you have to take early on in the season. This is a classic buy low situation. It could come out a week from now that the guy has something wrong with his shoulder. He's going to get shut down. He's going to end up on DL for 4 to 6 weeks. I'm just speculating, but these are one of those risks where if you want to take it, this is something that can end up paying off and working out big for you in the long run of a fantasy baseball season, which we know is 6 months long. We can't overreact, which is what we did yesterday on our Overreaction Monday. We can't do that after just 2 relief appearances for Kenley Jansen.
He responded saying, quote, your co-host is a dum-dum. So it looks like he will not be doing that.
Well, I wouldn't call Matt Modica dum-dum.
No,
You guys won a lot of money playing fantasy baseball, so.
Nick Castellanos just got an infield hit because he's the best.
Come on, we can't have that against Jake Junis. Come on, Greg.
No, we want a double play.
Oh, yeah, that's what we wanted.
Yeah, perfect.
At least he's inducing soft contact. Like, that's the one positive we could take away from Jake Junis. Just to put it in perspective, everyone's talking about the velocity. As of right now, on Fangraphs, they have his cutter at 90.6 miles per hour, whereas last year, that is his bread and butter pitch. It was at 93.3 miles per hour. So about 3 miles per hour down so far this early in the season. But are we freaking out about, like, Carlos Martinez? Are we saying, hey, trade away Carlos Martinez for Patrick Corbin? Get anything that you can right now.
I agree it's a little bit different.
Is it, though?
Yes.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
The velocity is not an issue. Carlos Martinez is just being Carlos Martinez. This is why what we just saw with Carlos Martinez is exactly what I was saying. This is why Carlos Martinez is not a top 12 pitcher, because he's going to run into this about 5-6 times throughout the year, is that he just loses it every so often. The difference is Jansen's lost velocity, which now is dating back to the World Series, which is dating back to what you said at the beginning of this, Frank, is the 85+ innings, the pitching in the postseason on top of it. So I'm with you. I'm not doing it for Diaz. Rivero, I would consider it, but Rivero, I'd probably want a small piece back just because of the investment I spent. That being said, if I could get a Chapman, I'm doing it in a heartbeat.
He asked for Rivero and a pick for next year. I declined that offer. I'm not trying to.
But what if it's what if it's a later draft pick or something? Like, does that matter? Like,
is that upgrade enough?
What if that's like Rivero and an 18th round pick for Kenley Jansen? I'd probably do that.
I'd want 12.
Yeah, so I'm not doing it 12.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm with you. I wouldn't give that much up. But if it's a late round pick, like 18th, whatever, blah, blah, I'll do something like that. Jake, if you were the Rivero owner, would you trade him to get Kenley Jansen? Because I know you've kind of reacted to the inverse of that, which is getting Rivero.
It depends on where I'm sitting. It depends if my other 2 closers, or I at least have one great closer that's safe. And I don't mean great like he doesn't have to be a Chapman. I'm just talking about somebody who's safe. As I always talk about, I'd rather job security than somebody who's going to post a 1-something ERA. I'd rather know that my guy is going to have the job for the entire year. So if I have a closer like that, and maybe a solid third, a questionable third, I'd probably do it because the upside, you're getting the potential game-changing, league-changing performance of Jansen. On the flip side, if my second closer is like Colome, who might be traded by the deadline and not out of a job, then there's no way I'm trading for Jansen, because I'm not going to potentially be out of all 3 of my closers.
What if your second closer was Jeurys Familia?
That's the same risk. I don't know that he's going to have the job the entire year only because of his ability. We don't know if Mickey Callaway has the same patience that we've seen before. And the fact is Familia, any given day, goes out there and can't find the strike zone for the life of him.
Yeah, and I mentioned Carlos Martinez. That was just an example. That was just an example of a guy who struggled early on. I didn't mean it as like velocity to velocity. If we were just talking
we know what you meant.
But there are other pitchers that have, like, starting pitchers that have already had low velocity, like Luis Castillo. I brought him up yesterday. His fastball was down 2 miles per hour. That might make a big difference between, he's a guy who usually throws 97 near 98. If he's at 94, 95, I mean, that makes a big difference for Luis Castillo. That's what made him so dominant last year. So should we just go out and say we're going to trade Luis Castillo now for, I'm just going to keep saying Patrick Corbin because he had a pretty good first start.
Right.
Is that something that we should do? Like, I don't think so. after just one
Well, you
start.
can take it on a case-by-case basis, which I think is what you're alluding to, which is the smart thing. You can't just make a blanket statement for all these guys.
By the way, a couple of updates on Jake Junis. Nick Castellanos was ruled a error by Mike Moustakis.
Yay!
And then there was a double play, so they aren't at the inning.
Yeah! You got what you wanted, Greggy.
So did you, Frank. We're Jake Junis guys here.
We actually started him, right?
Jake
Yes!
Junis.
You told me you put him in the lineup, so I didn't even look.
All right.
You were so excited about Jake Junis this morning that you put him in the lineup, you said.
I did.
Yeah.
That was the first thing I did when I woke up at 6 a.m. I'm looking at my phone. Gonna put Jake Junis in the lineup tonight. Daily transactions. I'm putting him in.
And he's in there.
Because his first name is Jake.
And because his first name is Jake.
He's the all-in pitcher.
Do we think that somebody's not playing? Should I put Carlos Gomez in?
Carlos Gomez is in the lineup.
He's not.
He's not?
Not an hour lineup.
Oh. Who do we have in there right now?
Cameron Maven.
He's facing someone tough, Chris Sale, I believe.
So I should probably switch that, right?
Probably. But you don't want to miss out on a stolen base. That's the thing. Like, can we find a more generic hitter?
Carlos
No,
Gomez
well,
is
hold on.
base.
Is Maben even in the lineup today?
I don't know.
We probably don't know yet.
Yeah, it's too early.
I'm doing
Maben's
it.
been
I'm doing
Maben's
it.
been swapped in and out surprisingly.
Yeah, 100%. I am putting
But
in.
he's gonna play against.
Carlos
He's
Gomez.
gonna play against Chris Sale because he's a lefty. He's been in all the southpaw lineups so far.
Yeah, I'm putting Carlos Gomez in. Making the call.
Isn't there anyone?
cool?
I believe there's someone else that we could bench, like a bad player.
Derek Fisher.
Cameron Maben is in the lineup. He's batting sixth.
But it's against Chris Sale.
Derek Fisher, that lineup is not going to be out till later, but they're going up against Mike Wright Jr., so I want Derek Fisher in the lineup. Derek Fisher's actually hot, man.
Batting ninth.
Dude, he had 2 more hits last night. He had a triple. He had a
know what
triple
he
the
did.
other day as
Watched a lot
well.
of that game.
I'm telling you, the thing that I was saying about Derek Fisher in draft season, well, maybe I didn't get to it on the air, but I told you off the air, and the reason why I wanted to draft him on every team is that he's kind of a post-hype sleeper. You know, it reminded me of the Aaron Judge situation because Aaron Judge came up 2 years ago, struggled, and then we all kind of wrote him off, and he went for nothing last year, and then he did what he did. Obviously, he was a front runner for the MVP. I'm not saying Derek Fisher's going to do that, but I think there's a chance if this guy gets 500 at bats, he could be a near 2020 player in a very
You might
very
have your
good lineup.
decision made anyway.
Why
You
is
really
that?
think the Yankees are going to play today?
I don't.
It's 40 and raining.
Yeah, no, I know.
Actually,
we're here.
It doesn't look like it's raining outside right now. I haven't been outside, but
When I went to lunch, it was raining.
it was raining.
Yeah. So I don't
George
know.
Kurtz said there's been raining over by the stadium most of the morning.
Yeah, but they
Get
would have
Carlos Gomez out of there.
I think they would have canceled it. Really?
Get him out.
You want to start Maven
got
against
the-
Chris Sale?
Yeah, another hour. Oh, see, this is the tough thing, George. I was about to call you, Greg. Is they might try and since they've got this at 4, they might try and keep delaying it, and
Correct.
then go all the way because they got the 7 o'clock and then
Window,
it gets
100%.
canceled anyway.
Exactly. I think they think that they'll get it in at some point tonight. That's what
And I think that's why Montgomery is pitching today and not Severino, because the chance that they do say, you know what, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to some pitchers you want to talk about, Frank. Because we got Ray Austin coming up in like 5 minutes or so, and Jake's leaving us in about 5 minutes or so. Let's get into this Tyler Mahle guy.
Tyler Mahle. Why you say his name like that?
Mahle.
Like you don't know anything about him.
O'Malley.
Because I didn't even know how to pronounce his name. So I don't know anything about
Mahle.
him. That's all I
Like
know.
O'Malley.
I didn't know, so you corrected me. Tyler Mahle. I don't know anything about him. That's why I said it like that.
Yeah, so I watched a lot of his start yesterday against the Cubs. Mind you, it's still very cold in all of these locations that they're going to be playing. They were playing in Cincinnati yesterday. Chicago Cubs, he threw 6 shutout innings, 7 strikeouts. He had 10 swinging strikes of 86 total pitches. That's an 11.6% swinging strike rate. Last year, he owned a 2.06 ERA across 26 starts in the minors. That's between AA and AAA. He actually pitched a perfect game in the minors last year, so that's a fun fact. But I don't think he has an overpowering pitching arsenal. You watch him pitch, he doesn't throw 95, 96 miles per hour, but he knows how to paint the corners and he knows how to pitch. I found that very interesting watching this guy pitch. He's a rookie, and he's pitching like a veteran. He's changing hitters' eye locations. He's going up in the zone. He's going down. He's moving in and out. So he knows how to pitch already at this age, at this stage of his career, which I think is very interesting. He has a 3-pitch arsenal. He throws a fastball. He has a changeup. He has a slider. So I don't think he has huge upside, but I think he can be a stabilizing force for the back end of your fantasy rotation, if you want to call it that. I was very impressed by what I saw of him yesterday and the fact that, he pitched very, very well in the minor leagues last year, Greg.
Sorry about that. Tyler Mahle, were you impressed last night, Jakey?
Yeah, so I actually had Mahle in a lot of leagues, hoping he made the opening day roster. To say it's 3 pitch, he's probably about 2.5 pitch, but he gets the 3 because technically he's got 2 different fastballs. He does throw the 4-seamer and the 2-seamer, although there's very little disparity between the two if you're watching both of them, but he does have that. You get a little bit of the extra sink on the other pitch. This fact is the slider's the second one. As you mentioned, the changeup's got good movement, but he doesn't use it that much yet. He's trying to incorporate a curveball. All that being said, the thing that really helps, and the reason I like him, the reason I'm stashing him, is because of what Frank said, is he's got the control. Is that even though right now, if you want to make the argument, he's really only got 2 pitches that he's really good at. Would you say highly above average? I'd say right now the changeup is average. The curveball is nothing as of right now. But what you like is that control. Now, if he can get that changeup, start to incorporate it 15% of the time with the movement that he has, and now he does have a legitimate 3 pitches, and he can mix up those fastballs a little bit, you're looking at somebody that I honestly think could be a breakout pitcher this year. The strikeouts aren't going to be 9, 10 per 9, but he is somebody that, because of what Frank said, that's what you like about him so much, is that he's got the makeup of the majors already in his command of the plate, and he didn't get flustered against the Cubs early when he loaded the bases. The first inning was terrible, and he got out of it unscathed, and that's what you really like about him.
Across every minor league level, Greg, he never had a higher walks per 9 higher than 2.52. So Jake's right. He does have very good control. Even if he gives you 7 to 8 Ks per 9, if he has that good control, he can help you out in the whip department as well.
Mike Florio just texted me. He says, "How was I replaced by Jake?" Sorry. Jake's done for the day anyway. Ray Austin's going to join the program next for the FCFL. And then Frank and I will get into some more pitchers that aren't very good, but Frank likes them anyway. We'll do it when we come back here in the BFFs.
With ThermoSpa's unique built-in thermofiltration system, you simply fill it with a garden hose and your water stays crystal clear with very little maintenance.
Right now, they're offering 0% APR financing with approved credit and a $1,250 savings coupon. Call ThermoSpas today at 800-603-6422 for your free DVD videos and brochure. That's 800-603-6422. Call 800-603-6422 today to take advantage of 0% APR financing.
Hey, I'm Jeff. Look, I'm just a skeleton. I don't have an ACL anymore, but I'd still like to know what it means when one of my fantasy players sprains his. That's why I use the Inside Injuries app. It was created by real doctors, so you're getting information directly from people who have seen, touched, and operated on actual ACLs. Take it from me, a skeleton. If you aren't using it, you might as well just be guessing. Download the free app today and unlock the secrets of injury analysis.
Game time decisions.
LeBron James posted a video of him dancing with Justin Timberlake. I said, "This is your problem, LeBron. Why are you on a stage with Timberlake, of all people?" Then I went on and I tweeted at Timberlake. I called him a bunch of names, and I said he sucks. I called him the C word.
Oh, the C word.
Now, the C word doesn't go down well ever. Like, you know, it's just not a good...
With women, especially.
No, that's why Timberlake got so upset. Yeah, Retzi, everybody.
Weekdays, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. Only on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network.
Why pay high rake when you can play daily fantasy baseball and pay half the rake on Fantasy Draft? Featuring half the rake GPP and head-to-head contests, exclusive VIP experiences, and the most flexible lineup structures in the game. Fantasy Draft is the only DFS site that puts players first. They're also the only site to offer 6 of 7 PGA scoring, dropping your lowest golfer's score. Register today with the code FNTSY for a free $4 entry into a guaranteed winner contest in the sport of your choice. Fantasy Draft, daily fantasy on a level playing field.
So we hope to have Ray Austin on the line in a few moments. Chris Cannon's going to work on that for us, FCFL. It's awesome, Frank. I'm excited for you to get to... Oh, we have him right now. How about that?
How about that?
That was cool. Ray Austin, Commissioner, FCFL. Welcome to the program, sir. That was the... Hello. Hey, Ray, what's going on, man? Nope, that didn't do it either.
Okay.
Hello, I'm here.
Hey!
Yeah!
There you are, Ray. How are you, man?
What's going on, man? Y'all having a good time over there, I think.
Oh, we're always having a good time here on the BFFs. Like, Well, we're sitting here talking about baseball and football, and we're hanging out, and now we get to chat with you, Commissioner FCFL, the Fan-Controlled Football League. You and I talked a little bit about this last week, and I wanted to bring you on and talk to Frank about it too, because something that, Frank, you'd be super into, because obviously you're into fantasy football. And you consider yourself an advanced fantasy football player, I think. Somebody that ultimately wants as much control as possible. With the Fan-Controlled Football League, you get to hire and fire coaches. You get to call the actual plays. So you can pick a player and be like, why doesn't my damn player get the ball? You get to choose that. Is that right, Ray? Do I have that right?
That's absolutely right. You become the GM, the coach, the play caller, the scout that we're looking for to develop our teams. That's exactly what the Fan-Controlled Football League stands for.
That sounds awesome, Ray. Tell us more about the product, the Fan-Controlled Fantasy Football League. What are some of the nuances, some of the things that you could do, some of the features that you have? Because I'm interested, and I'm sure everyone else who's listening or watching is also interested in hearing about that.
Well, first I want to talk about how this is different for the player.
Yeah.
I played into this one league. I won't say the name of the league that I used to play in after the NFL. But
we're gonna get into that, Ray. Don't you worry.
Yeah. Well, okay. Anyway. But we're talking about doing things that are so innovative for the player. Nowadays a player it's difficult if you're not a guy that's going to get drafted. There's only 360 odd guys that get drafted every year. So there's a rotating door of players going in and out. So if I'm at a smaller school, or if I'm a kid that got injured and kind of got forgotten about, how do I get a chance to get my exposure? Well, now with the internet, you've got platforms like YouTube and Huddle where people can see people from scouting by looking at highlights and links. We want to look for players from those schools, from the internet. We want to give the chance for players to get exposure from over 100 different countries. We had fans involved in the FCFL in our last team, the Screaming Eagles, all the way from Australia, from Germany, from Europe. So we want this new age digital player we're creating. We want to give that player a chance to have more exposure, that he has a chance to play football at another level if that's possible.
And I think it's awesome, right? Like, I think it is having the fans more involved. There's nothing bad that can come out of that. And I think that's what your former league, Ray, I think that's what your former league tried to do and will ultimately try to do again. Of course, we're talking about the XFL. You played in it. What was that experience like?
Look, the experience was great. I mean, we as players, I thought it was a great experience. But I felt it was, to be honest, a little bit unorganized at the time. I thought it was kind of thrown together. I thought the football was great football. It was former NFL players. I had 9 guys on my team that were actual NFL players that played that played in the league. So the football was quality football. I just thought that it got thrown together early, and the first couple of games you could probably tell were a little sloppy, and we kind of started getting into our groove afterwards. I liked what the XFL was trying to stand for and try to create football. But what had happened was, just like all the new leagues that are popping up right now, all it is the same product regurgitated. It's just football. Every new league that comes up, it's just football. The FCFL is the only league that is innovative like we are, from using the blockchain to getting drones involved, to putting helmet cameras on that actually work on the players, allowing the players to talk directly to the fans. This is a live video game, and that's what we're trying to create.
Live video game. That sounds a lot like virtual reality. We know a lot of things that are kind of trending in that direction. Is that kind of the vision, or what you guys had in mind when you were thinking about the FCFL?
Totally. I mean, you think, and this is a new audience of player that we're fan that we're dealing with. Back in the day, I said this last time. We just watched football. We waited for the commercials and we watched it again. That's just how football was for us growing up. Now, with esports, with gaming, with Madden, with social media, with virtual reality, with drones, sports have changed. Fans want to be more engaged. They want to be more involved, and we're giving them the decision-making power with the FCFL so they can make those decisions and be a part sporting programs. It's the hardest thing. People don't realize a lot of people want to get into sports. A lot of people want to be broadcasters. A lot of people want to be announcers, reporters. They want to work. They want to be coaches. They want to get into sports, but it's just very difficult to get into sports. It's hard to get those jobs. Well, at the FCFL, now you can become that GM. Now you can become that scout that you've always wanted. And hopefully you find us that player that possibly makes it to the next level. That's what we're trying to give our fans, that type of engagement and that type of opportunity.
Talking to Ray Austin, commissioner of the FCFL, that is the Fan Control Football League. Please check it out at fcfl.io. All the fan opportunities that Ray is kind of referencing here. And we do have to say, though, the FCFL is kind of been in a bit of a crowded marketplace in a way, right? With Vince McMahon announcing the XFL is going to return in a couple of years, with Charlie Ebersol and Bill Polian coming out with another league of their own. What do you think will make fans turn into the FCFL more than a known brand like the XFL and a known commodity like Charlie Ebersol and Bill Polian and Troy Polamalu of their football league?
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's football being done over and over, the same thing done with no innovation. To me, I think that I think it's probably going to be good quality of football, just like our league will be. The only difference is that if you think about the NFL, there's only about 3 to 5% of actual NFL fans that's actually been in the stadium, sitting in front of their favorite team more than one time. This is a different era. This is a different digital audience, and we're trying to tap into the audience globally. We're trying to tap into. We don't need 50,000 fans in our stadium to pay bills. We want our fans to be global. We want people to interact and engage on a global standpoint with the FCFL. We're the only league that will be able to bring that type of engagement, and that's what I think is going to change everyone to come and watch what we're doing. It is the most engaging thing that you can have in sports. When I'm talking about weekly being able to meet with coaches, weekly being able to talk to your players, weekly being able to decide what your roster is going to look like, weekly thinking about what your play call is going to be, weekly meeting with the other coaches, learning from other coaches, learning from former players. This will be the only league where fans will be right there sitting in our meeting rooms digitally, being a part of building all these teams.
We're talking to Ray Austin from the FCFL. Check out more at fcfl.io. Ray, I want to get back into your background. I know we talked a little bit about it last week, but Frank, I think you find it interesting. You're a Jet fan. Of course, Ray played for the New York Jets, and he will adamantly say he was not drafted by Bill Parcells. He was drafted by Bill Belichick, who, of course, Frank, was your coach for like a day or so.
I was a very young lad at that time, so it's all right. We'll sweep that one under the rug. It never happened as long as I know about it.
Yeah, so there you go. Ray, can you describe what playing for Bill Belichick was like?
I mean, I think I touched on it a little bit before,
yep.
But I was blessed to spend my first few years there with him. I mean, to come into the NFL and have that type of coaching I've been blessed to have some really great coaches in my football career. So I really hadn't had bad coaching, but when I got with Bill was just so intense. And people, when you say intense and you see his personality, people are like, how is that even possible? It is very, very possible. Sometimes when as a parent, or if you guys have kids, when it's possible to make your son say no just by a look, instead of yelling or spanking them. And that's the kind of, a presence that Bill brought. He brought a respect because everybody knew that he was going to be prepared 1,000%, and he's going to expect you to be that way. And I think that was it's not, I won't even say it's a pressure. It's an actual commitment. You're like, shit, I want to do well for this guy. Yep. Like, I want to go to battle for him. And that's why guys are like they are with him. And it's obvious. I mean, he doesn't have to have 17 Pro Bowler first-round guys. He can make a football player out of anybody. And I think that's what makes him so, the football, the coach that he is.
And that's why he's arguably the greatest head coach of all time. I don't know how I could do this, Ray, but I'd like to place my vote for the FCFL.io to hire Bill Belichick as head coach. Is that where can I do that?
Go ahead. I might even bring the Belichick hoodie up. You know,
love it.
I might even rock it for the first game. I don't know. Never know, man.
Absolutely, man. Where can we follow you, Ray, on Twitter to learn more about the FCFL?
Man, like I said, you can go to fcfl.io. You can check us out on our website. You can also go to fantoken.network and also our Telegram, FCFL_token or fan_token. And you can find me at RayAustin36 on all my social media. You hit me and I'll hit you back.
So he says, by the way, Nando, who was obviously on the show last week with us, he followed you because he loved you, and he's upset he didn't get a follow back.
Who is this? No, that's not true. I'll look right now. I promise you. I'll look right now, dog. I'll look right now.
I love it. I love that we're starting a feud right here. This is awesome. Man. Ray Austin, it's Ray Austin36 on all social media. It's FCFL.io, the Fan Control Football League. It's fantasy taken to a whole new level. It's fantasy becoming reality. Ray Austin, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, guys, man. Power to the fans.
Absolutely. Power to the fans, indeed. We'll talk to Ray coming up again at some point soon, Frank. That was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm interested. I'm sure I won't be the first person. I won't be the last person here. It takes all the things that we love about fantasy football, that we love about Madden, that we love about real football, and pretty much tries to ravel it all into one. So I'm very, very interested in this product. And if you like all these other things that we just spoke about, Madden, fantasy, real life football, NFL, XFL, whatever it is, you're a fan of football, you're going to want to get involved. I think it's a really cool concept.
And you know what's cool? Ray's done it all, right? Like Ray played in the NFL, played in the XFL, and now is a major part of the FCFL where it's different than all the other leagues. It's not just high quality football.
Yep.
It's improving the fan experience, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, life is all about perspective, right? So this guy isn't just a former NFL player. He's been around a little bit. He's been in the NFL. He's been in the XFL. Spoke about that, how the organization of it, or rather the disorganization of it the first time around with Vince McMahon running the show. And we know, obviously, they're trying to make a comeback in 2020. So we'll see if they correct things this time around, Gregg. But it's really cool to hear about his experiences, not just there, but playing under Bill Belichick, and kind of taking all those things and building that perspective. And that's kind of what you need when you're trying to put out a new, different kind of product like this. You need to know your audience. You need to know as much as you possibly can about different walks of life when it comes to football.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of football, a couple of football notes, Frank, that I wanted to bring up to you before we get back into baseball, which we'll do after the break. And that is Robbie Anderson. Speaking of the Jets, charges dropped most of them. Yeah, gotta make you feel good.
Some money under the table here somewhere, Greggy.
Maybe so.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of surprised by that, but. Look, I'm no way, shape, or form am I going to condone the things that he was alleged of doing. But, as a Jet fan, as a fantasy player, we want these guys on the field. So I guess in that respect, I don't know if the league is still going to take some action. Can that happen? Like if the charges are dropped, can the league still take action against you and suspend you for a couple games?
Ask Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, so there you go. We could be still looking at a couple of games here out of Robbie Anderson. I'll be interested to see what the Jets do this year in terms of wide receiver depth chart because they have Quincy Enunwa coming back. They have Terrell Pryor coming in
Which
here
is awesome.
as well. I mean, they just drafted 2 wide receivers last year, and Ardarius Stewart and Chad Hansen. So the Jets have some depth. It's just who's going to step up and really become that number 1 wide receiver again. Is it going to be Robbie Anderson, or if he's suspended a few games, does Quincy Enunwa fill that role and kind of take off there? They don't have a tight end, so Quincy Enunwa can play that role as well. He's a very good blocking wide receiver. Be interested to see what the Jets do, especially in the draft coming up in a couple of weeks.
And you can't talk football without mentioning Odell Beckham Jr. And reports on this are really all over the map. Like I've kind of been in the camp like there's no way they'll trade him. But when you have someone like Adam Schefter be like, there's a lot of smoke here. It's kind of real. And then you have Ian Rappaport say some of the same thing. Like, I think he's going to get traded. And Schefter's thinking he's going to get traded. Then Andrew Brandt comes out and writes for MMQB today. We know how this ends. He plays for the Giants. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I thought too. I don't really know what to think.
I don't know either, but I feel like we've said this about players in the past. There's absolutely no way this player is going to get traded. And I know it's different for different sports, but like Kyrie Irving came out, and that was a different situation because he demanded a trade. But you thought, look, there's no way the Cavs are going to trade Kyrie Irving. I mean, he's going to be the successor for LeBron James. He's going to take over, that mantle for the Cleveland Cavaliers once LeBron James is gone. But they found a way to make it happen. They traded him away. So look, I think there's a higher percent chance that this doesn't happen. I would probably put it at like 75% chance it doesn't happen, 25% chance that he is traded. I don't think they get 2 first-round picks if it were to happen. I know that's what people are speculating the Giants want. That's what they're asking for. I think, if anything, they end up getting a first-round pick and another player involved in the trade, or a first-round pick and maybe a third or a fourth-round pick. I know we heard about the Browns, maybe a first-round pick and Corey Coleman, something like that. I could see maybe a trade like that happening, but I'm still going to err on the side of 75% chance it doesn't happen, Greg.
Yeah, I think so too.
Do you think they get 2 first-round picks if it does happen?
Yes.
You think they get 2?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, look, we know how good he is when he's on the field, so you can kind of, if you're the Giants, you could put your foot down and say, look, this is what we're asking for. If you want him, you pay up to get him. And then if someone comes knocking with 2 first-round picks, then things start to get interesting. Then, I mean, how do you say no at that point? Do you say no if you get offered 2 first-round picks?
I think they do. I think you dream in the first round to draft an Odell Beckham Jr. You got to pay him. You got to deal with it. He's that good.
You know what's more fun than Odell Beckham on your team, Greg? Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley on your team together. I know you're not a big proponent of that, but
I want the quarterback.
Damn, that would be fun.
That
would be so fun, though, from a fantasy perspective, having Odell Beckham and Saquon Barkley on the same team, Greg. That'd be sick. And I'm not even a Giant fan.
I'm just happy that the draft's coming and we can end the speculation.
Yeah, I mean, especially with the Jets, man. It's like you have no idea who the Jets are going to take 3rd pick right now. If I had to put all my money right now, I would say Josh Allen. But now stuff's coming out that the Browns are going to take Josh Allen at number 1. So if that happens, then Sam Darnold probably goes 2 to the Giants. And then we're looking at Josh Rosen or Baker Mayfield. I don't think the Jets take Baker Mayfield. I would love for that to happen. Take a shot on a kid. I don't care about the height. Reminds me of a Russell Wilson. But I think at the end of the day 1, Jets are going to have Josh Allen at their team at number 3.
Let's take a break. When we come back, there's a lot more not-so-good pitchers we're going to get into. It's the BFFs on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network.
Muscle Maker Grill was made for baseball season. Muscle Maker Grill supplies you with delicious, healthy meals that will give you energy to cheer on your team week after week. Whether you're craving flavorful salad, packed wraps, or guiltless entrees, Muscle Maker Grill has you covered. Hosting a game? No problem. Our catering packages will have your whole team satisfied with flavors ranging from Italian to Tex-Mex and much, much more. Visit MuscleMakerGrill.com for your nearest location and have a winning season.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you. Printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-292-8137 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-292-8137 for your free author submission kit. Again, that's 800-292-8137.
Fantasy Baseball Hour with Al Melchior.
Trevor Williams, probably not a guy you drafted for the strikeouts. And that's good because he only struck out 1 Detroit Tiger, but he no-hit the Tigers for 6 whole innings. This is a weird line, though. No hits, 5 walks, 1 strikeout. Williams can get the ground balls. He can generate some soft contact. Williams allowed 14 hit balls. Only 1 of them got pulled. That's really, really low. It's interesting if he builds on that and he has 2 or 3 starts like that. It's like Trevor Williams, hard to pull the ball on him.
Listen live on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network and on popular podcast providers.
Skix sneakers are taking over tailgates and alumni homes across America. Skix canvas high top, low top, slip-on, and kids tennis style sneakers designed in officially licensed college colors and logos is a must-have for every college fan's wardrobe. Fun, fashionable, and comfortable. Whether you're at the big game or watching the game at home, Skix helps fans perform better. Go to Skix.com and use promo code FNTSY for 15% off your pair now. That's Skix.com. Skix sneakers, the soul of a true fan.
It only feels fitting that on a day that Jake Junis and Matt Boyd are pitching, both pitch really well. Though we talk about other kind of terrible pitchers. But some aren't so terrible. But others are brutal.
I enjoy that Chris Cannon already gets me. He plays music that I like. You definitely don't like this, but I am enjoying it a lot.
But this is that Jennifer Lopez song, dude.
Yeah, but it's still from the 90s. Any song like this that sounds like this from the 90s, 90s dance, 90s
You and I are not going to get together and watch and listen to J-Lo together at any point, other than right now.
I can find a way. I can find a way to convince you, Chris.
When we go out for strip club night with Carton.
There you
right.
go. Might be playing there.
Yeah.
We're allowed to go to strip clubs.
Or, bowling night.
With our significant others.
Yeah, I don't have any issues. Chris Venture, on the other hand, don't touch that.
Bug boy.
It skeeves me out.
Bug boy.
You can't touch a stripper's ass, but, you can come home with bed bugs.
Disgusting. All right, Jake Junis and Matt Boyd. Jake Junis, Matt Boyd, pitching really, really well today. Some players that pitched really, really well last night, including a guy that we drafted very, very late in the GST draft. That was Reynaldo Lopez.
Did we drop him already? We didn't drop him, did we?
We didn't drop Reynaldo Lopez.
I hope we didn't. We had him in the lineup, right?
You were in charge of that, so.
No, I didn't drop him.
Did you drop him?
I don't think.
I'm going to look right now.
I didn't drop him.
I remember we picked him. Like, we had no list in front of us at this point. We were just going over, young pitchers that, maybe had some upside. And we eventually landed on Reynaldo Lopez. And I remember all three of us were like, all right, I can get behind that. Sure, why not? Last night in his first start of the season, he looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did, Greg. I watched a lot of that start as well. 14 swinging strikes of 100 pitches. I'm surprised, man. They let a young pitcher go 100 pitches his first time out. Obviously, the 14 swinging strikes of 100 pitches, that's a 14% swinging strike rate. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 earned run. His only mistake in that game was he allowed an opposite field home run to Josh Donaldson. And if you're watching the game, it was a wall scraper, man. It looked like just a bloop fly ball that just managed to get over the wall, but had those 6 strikeouts. And look, we know about the arsenal with Reynaldo Lopez. He throws very, very hard. 96, 97 mile per hour fastball, mid-80s slider, mid-80s changeup. The changeup is pretty good, too. I don't know if it's something he was working on in the offseason.
He was in our lineup last night.
Yeah! I would have liked to see him get the win. The White Sox bullpen blew it. I believe it was Danny Farquhar who gave up the lead. I think it was a home run to Russell Martin. But the changeup is nice, man. It's a mid-80s changeup. It's a good variance of speed from his fastball. It's got that 10, 12 mile per hour difference from his fastball, but it has this 2-seam action that kind of breaks away from left-handed pitchers. So if it's a pitch that helps him get left-handed bats out, it's going to be very, very useful for him. The biggest knock for Reynaldo Lopez is that he is wild at times, and he could be wildly effective. He reminds me a lot of a Chris Archer coming up from the minor leagues, of a Gio Gonzalez coming up from the minor leagues, in that right now I still think that he's a thrower. I think that he just throws very hard and he needs to learn how to pitch. But I think as this season goes on, if last night was any indication of things that he worked on in spring training and in the off season, that if he can put together this high 90s fastball, this mid-80s slider, this mid-80s changeup that he can use to get left-handed bats out, striking out a batter per inning, I think that that's something that he can maintain. If he could just keep those walks to around 3 per 9, 3.5 per 9, even that, I think that we're looking at a guy who has, potentially top 35, top 30 upside this year. So I'm very, very interested in Reynaldo Lopez this season, Greg.
Me too, and for all the reasons you mentioned, ultimately, what we saw him improve on in spring training, it worked into at least one start in MLB in the regular season. I'm not saying this will last. I'm not saying that we can count on him. But he's always had talent. He's always had the stuff. It's putting it all together, avoiding the walks. We saw it at least for one start.
Yeah, and he has,
it's a good offense in Toronto, right?
Yeah, and he has the pedigree too.
Yeah, definitely.
So he came over. Which trade was he part of? He wasn't part of the Adam Eaton trade.
He was part of the Adam Eaton trade. Sure, him and Giolito. I thought no.
Was it both of them? It probably was, because I remember.
Back to Wikipedia we go.
That haul was a crazy one. I mean, ultimately, it doesn't really matter what the package was that he came over, but we know that he had pedigree. He was the second.
Him and Giolito for Adam Eaton.
Yeah, he was the second pitching prospect in the Nationals organization.
Behind Giolito.
Right there behind Giolito. But, I'm very, very excited about this White Sox team this year, man. I know I said it just before the season started. I like the over-under on this team. I think they were at 68.5 or something really, really low. At some point, we're going to see Eloy Jimenez. We're going to see Michael Kopech. So you have all this young talent coming up, and you already have some of those guys there. And Yoan Moncada. You have a Jose Abreu, Matt Davidson hitting the ball very, very hard early on in the season here. So I think there's a lot to be excited about the White Sox. And, while everyone's drooling over Lucas Giolito, if Reynaldo Lopez is still available in your 12-team leagues, he's actually available in one of mine. I have a bid in on him. I think you should throw a couple dollars down on Fab and make sure you get him on your team. I
agree. I like Reynaldo Lopez, as I just mentioned. Let's move on to another guy you really liked all spring, and that's Jameson Taillon. Jameson Taillon was, I don't want to say you're Blake Snell for Florio, but like those two guys.
He pretty much was. I wasn't like pounding the table as hard as Mike was.
Well, that was the thing. You weren't pounding the table as hard. But I remember whenever I would rank Blake Snell or figure out where to put him, it was always next to or very, very close to Jameson Taillon. We saw Taillon's debut, and it went pretty well.
Yeah, it was a very, very good start yesterday. 15 swinging strikes of the 91 pitches, 16.5% swinging strike rate, had 9 strikeouts in just 5.1 innings pitched, 0 walks. That's what you like to see most out of Jameson Taillon. The reason why we had him ranked as a top 25, top 30 starting pitcher coming into last year was the fact that he can be an 8 to 9 K per 9 kind of pitcher, limit the walks, has pretty good command, and he keeps the ball on the ground. Those are all things that I look at for starting pitchers that I'm trying to target on my team, is that pretty good strikeouts. You don't have to blow the world away. You don't have to have 10, 11, 12 strikeouts per 9. If you give me 8 to 9 Ks per 9, you keep your walks in the 2 to 2.5 walks per 9 range, and you're giving me 46, 47% ground ball rate or higher, that's exactly what I'm looking at out of my starting pitchers. So Jameson Taillon, last year he checked all of those boxes. We know what he went through last year. He was dealing with testicular cancer. So, statistically, I look at last season and it's kind of a wash. Like I kind of just, I throw it out. And I think coming into this year, I have him on every one of my fantasy teams, Greg. I was just targeting him. I still think that he has that top 30, top 25 potential. Another guy like Reynaldo Lopez, who has tremendous prospect pedigree. It's taken him a long time to build it up. We know that he's battled through Tommy John surgery, the cancer like we mentioned, but still has that upside. Through mid-90s fastball, has a nasty curveball. If he could just continue to develop that third pitch, I think that we have a potential high-end SP2 on our hands. He just needs to stay healthy over the course of the entire season, Greg.
I agree. No, I didn't wind up getting Jameson Taillon anywhere. I'm actually going to look. Because we didn't get him in our drafts, right?
Well, we got him on Team BFF without Florio, which was like our first draft we did back in January. I don't think we ended up with him on our team, so disregard what I said about having him on every team. But every one of my solo teams, I made sure to get him.
I remember that in my solo league that I did, I'm actually going to look at the draft right now and find out where he went. I didn't get him, but I wanted to, and I ultimately... It didn't work out. But Jameson Taillon was a guy I was really interested in, much like Mike Clevenger, who I also was super interested in over the spring. And I think a lot of people were. It wasn't just me that was in on Clevenger. I think maybe I was kind of at the forefront because I owned him last year and I knew how effective he was when he was kind of put in the rotation and left alone. And that's what happened this spring. Very early on, Danny Salazar gets injured. So now there's 2 spots in the rotation available. And Francona immediately goes, yeah, Mike Clevenger's in there. And he was in there, and he started yesterday, and he was absolutely awesome against the Angels.
Yeah, he was, and another pretty good lineup, too. We talk about the Angels for him to come out and do what he did yesterday. 5 1/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts through 97 pitches. That's what I find so interesting about some of these young starting pitchers. Gabe Kapler is taking Aaron Nola out after 68 pitches, but some of these other managers are leaving their young starting pitchers, the Clevengers. Reynaldo Lopez is in near 100 pitches in their first start. So, I'm intrigued by that. You don't want to rush these guys out too much and ask too much of them this early on. But I like to see that. That shows some trust in your young starting pitchers. He generated 11 swinging strikes yesterday of his 97 pitches. I would say of all the pitchers we've spoke about so far today, he probably has the highest strikeout upside. But with that being said, he probably has the lowest downside in terms of control and walks, and that's even worse than Reynaldo Lopez. I believe it was something like 4 or 5 walks per 9 last year for Mike Clevenger. So another guy who's effectively wild, has this stuff. I just wonder that once Danny Salazar comes back, does he end up in the bullpen? I don't know why this team continues to leave Josh Tomlin in the rotation.
Sure.
I know he's kind of like that reliable arm, I guess, if Terry Francona wants to call him that. I heard you guys talking about it on FST, Lance McCullers, is he better off in the bullpen, something like that? Danny Salazar might be a guy, ultimately, that ends up being better in the bullpen. A guy that you can... you don't necessarily need that because you have Andrew Miller, but a guy that can go multiple innings and has that strikeout stuff in a Danny Salazar, maybe he's better off in the bullpen. So, You do have to worry about that being a Mike Clevenger owner, but through one start, I think you have to like what you saw out of him, Greg.
Absolutely. Now, a couple of quick notes. We have about 10 minutes or so, a little bit less remaining in the program. Andrew Triggs and much of this Oakland A's rotation was somewhere last year that I think a lot of us looked at the waiver wire and we're like, all right, yeah, I can buy Andrew Triggs. I can buy Jarrell Cotton. And like one by one, we went. And Andrew Triggs, kind of this year, is the last one standing. He started last night, pitched pretty well. Is there any way we can rely on Andrew Triggs?
I think he's probably more of a matchup play. You might want to just play him at home. I'm looking back at his 2016 split, his splits from that year, because I remember he was pretty good that year. I don't know if he got off to a really good start or what it was, or rather it was a good second half. It was a good second half for Andrew Triggs where he appeared in 9 games. He had 5 starts. He had a 2.57 ERA. He's a guy who keeps the ball on the ground. Doesn't have great strikeout stuff. That year, 2016, kind of his coming out party at home. He had a 2.81 ERA. So of all the pitchers that we've mentioned today, I would say he probably has the lowest upside from out of these starting pitchers. You know, the Tyler Mahle, Reynaldo, Lopez. But I think he can be a serviceable guy. Maybe someone you're looking at in 14-team leagues or deeper. Someone that you want to play maybe when he's at home, because he does generate a lot of those ground balls, and he is a guy that we have looked at in the past as kind of a starting pitcher stream. Often we try to find these guys on Oakland A's because we kind of just have this mindset, right, that the Oakland A's just
churn out pitchers.
They just churn out a ton of starting pitcher prospects, dating back to the days of, like the Mark Mulders. I mean, even Dan Herron. Dan Herron was one of my favorite starting pitchers.
Gonzalez.
When I first started playing fantasy baseball, Dan Herron was my favorite pitcher. I had him every single year. I think it was the year he was with the Diamondbacks. He was a Cy Young contender. He was absolutely nasty. But we kind of have this mindset that the Oakland A's, they develop good starting pitchers. So I'm not saying he has a ton of upside, but I would look at him as a streamer in deeper leagues as of right now.
All right, so there you go. That's the deal with Andrew Triggs. It's funny because along the same lines with the A's, Frank, like I added to my sleeper list before the season started Daniel Gossett, Daniel Megden.
Yeah. Because they're Oakland A's, right? 100%. Like you don't even have to know anything about them, but you're
Correct.
like, hey, middle back end of the guys on the A's rotation, there's got to be something there, right?
That was pretty much my thought process, indeed.
Yeah, and look, they play in a cavernous ballpark there in Oakland. It doesn't look like it because they have guys like Chris Davis and Matt Olson hitting these moonshots. And shout out to Matt Chapman, who's off to a pretty hot start too. I know everyone was hyping up Matt Olson in the preseason. It's still very early on, but so far Matt Chapman has kind of has outperformed Matt Olson. But guys like that, they make Oco look like a small stadium, but it's really not.
Not at all. It's huge.
It's a very cavernous ballpark, which favors the starting pitchers. So that's why I say when he's at home, if he's going up against the Angels, the Mariners, some of these teams, especially while Nelson Cruz is banged up, I think you look at him as a stream.
A couple of other pitchers from last night want to just quickly get into before we wrap this one up. We spoke about Brian Johnson before, about do we want to start hitters against him? And pitching for the Red Sox pitched pretty well last night here, Frankie.
Yeah, and when we were doing waivers on Sunday, I brought him up as a possible player.
He's facing the Marlins.
These are the teams that you're going to want to stream against. Look, the Marlins, while they have some scrappy guys, Brian Anderson, you picked this guy up. We picked him up in deeper leagues. I think he should be owned in 15-team leagues because he is going to be the starting third baseman for that team. You want to stream starting pitchers against the Marlins. You look at the Tampa Bay Rays lineup. That's not a great lineup either. So those are teams that you want to attack early on. And Greg, something we spoke about during the break is, we're watching this pitcher's duel between Matthew Boyd and Jake Junis. Is that stream starting pitchers in some of these colder climates early on in the season because the ball just dies. Yesterday, we saw the tweet about Jorge Soler hitting the ball, exit velocity over 100 miles per hour off the bat, died on the warning track at Comerica. So if you could stream some starting pitchers in some of these colder climates earlier on in the season, the ball absolutely dies once it's hit. Whether it's a line drive, fly ball, it doesn't matter. It's just absolutely dying. So I would say stream against the Marlins, the Rays, and look for some cold weather climate games early on in the season.
All right, one more name, Tyler Chatwood for the Cubs, popular late round pick for many. He's the 5th starter. He plays in Chicago. He had a very good home road split last year when he played for Colorado. And with Chicago now, I didn't pick him, but maybe you did.
I didn't get him on any of my teams. He was a target. He was You know, he was kind of in that range of a Jake Junis to Sean Newcombs, kind of late round starting
100%.
pitchers that you want to take a shot on, see what he could do outside of Colorado. He's always had okay strikeout stuff, keeps the ball on the ground. That's what you like to see. Yesterday, in 6 innings pitched, of his 18 outs he recorded, 10 of those were ground ball outs.
Yep.
The biggest worry from yesterday's start is the fact that he walked 6 guys.
Definitely.
And that's not really part of who Tyler Chatwood is. So if he cleans up that control, I mean, it was still a very good start yesterday. 6 innings of 1-run ball, 4 strikeouts. I think he can be a quality start machine. Get this guy out of Coors Field into Wrigley, where early on it's also going to be cold. You get some of those starts. I think he could be a serviceable, SP5, SP6, back end of your fantasy rotation in a 12 to 15 team league. I'm fine with it.
Literally, with my last round pick in my draft that I did by myself, I was deciding between Tyler Chatwood and Mike Fultonevich. I went to go with Fultonevich, even though he plays for the worst team.
Come on, Greg.
I think he's got better stuff. I still do.
Yeah, he's always had the stuff, but he's never been able to put it together. We've seen stretches for maybe 3 or 4 starts. It's not like we've seen a whole half of a season where Mike Fulte can put it together. To me, I would have taken a shot on Tyler Chatwood, but you are kind of the Mike Fultonevich apologist.
I do. I like him. I don't remember him with the Astros, but you know what? Now that I see him in the Astros
remember some of the
uniform,
names that came up on the Astros? Asher Wojciechowski. Remember that back in the day?
Sure.
It's a blast from the past, man. They've had a bunch of
really bad players.
Weird.
Well, that's
weird
why
starting
for
pitchers
that's
come
why
up.
for years I didn't like Dallas Keuchel, because he was part of that group.
Yeah, he was. He was kind of just like a misfit starting pitcher, and then just took the world by storm. I remember
Peacock was in that too.
The next year, he had that kind of breakout mid-season, and there was no way. I was like, why are people on Dallas Keuchel? I mean, haven't you seen some of the pitchers that the Astros are able to kind of bring up through their system?
Gross.
They haven't been good, so that's why I was kind of off Dallas Keuchel. But maybe we shouldn't have that preconceived notion with the Oakland A's anymore either, because I don't remember the
last A that was good.
Well, Sonny Gray, but now he's a Yankee, Greg.
Damn right
it always
he is.
comes back to the Yankees.
Always. I still like Fulte. He's got great stuff. Maybe this is the year. We're done. BFFs are over. Coming up next, it's Fantasy Baseball Hour with Al Melchior and special guest Matt Modica live in studio. Stick around for that. For Frankie Stampfl, my name is Gregg Sussman. Thank you so much for watching the Fantasy BFFs. We will see you tomorrow. We hope.
Does your fantasy team suck? Maybe